The Touchstorm Video Index is a list of YouTube channels. There's about 50,000 in there right now. There will be 100,000 soon. So we take those top YouTube channels, and unlike anything else that's out there, we look at them in a variety of ways. There are a bunch of metrics that aren't talked about, that YouTube doesn't offer up, that the press doesn't write about, and yet they are the metrics that are the most valuable in really determining who do you have to compete with, who do you have to beat, and what's it going to take to beat them. The Touchstorm Video Index is so thorough that it allows us to have many editions. So this is the top brands edition, and we decided for this report to be able to look at any brand that made the YouTube top 5,000. But there are other things that we're looking at. Let's take movie studios or singers and celebrities and that sort of thing, and really be able to rank. It's a great insight into pop culture, who's doing well, and then more specifically within each, why are they doing well? How did they get there? What does it take to beat them if you're one of their competitors? The Touchstorm Video Index has a number of metrics that are perfect for marketers. They create real insight as to what's going on your channel and your direct competitors' channels. Examples: subscribers per million views, overall growth rate and growth rate of your category, likability index, view concentration, and many more. But let's just talk about a couple of those important ones. Growth rates on YouTube overall can't be found anywhere. Nobody's talking about that. But think about how important that is. If you're growing at 8%, you're celebrating. But then you find out that YouTube grew at 10% during that same time period, you've actually fallen behind in rank. So YouTube is a never-ending, constantly bar-raising medium. And it's important not only to grow, but to be able to keep up with the growth. And not just with YouTube overall, but in your very specific category. So maybe YouTube is growing at 10%, but maybe you're in automotive, and maybe that's only growing at 4%. So 5% growth rate is great for you. View concentration is a great way to figure out whether a channel has relied on just a couple of videos to get where they are, or whether they are really day-to-day, hardcore YouTube marketers. So for example, if you have a channel that has 90% of its views coming from 3 videos, it usually is the case that those 3 videos were backed in an ad campaign by a marketer with a big budget. When you find a channel that has a lot of content and their view concentration is low, meaning their views are spread out over lots and lots of different content, usually what you're looking at is a really good YouTube marketer. They have a content strategy, they're putting out content regularly, they have subscribers, and people are coming back to see their new content again and again and again. We've heard a number of brands say that they would just rather buy an audience on YouTube, that it's just easier to advertise. And now YouTube kind of mixes up apples and oranges so that if you buy pre-roll, it counts as a view. So advertising on YouTube is a way to see your channel view counts go up. The question becomes, is that the best thing to do? So we would be the first people to say what a valuable advertising medium YouTube is, and that brands should be running pre-roll on YouTube. This is the television of today's generation, be it the millennials or now the kids behind them, the Gen Zs, and they're now calling them the Homeland generation, born after 9/11. TV money needs to go to this place. However, when we say, well, is YouTube a paid, an earned, or an owned medium? Yes, we should be doing paid. But when it comes to earned or owned, most brands think of YouTube as an earned medium. Like, I will put out a video, it will go viral, hopefully, people will notice it, I'll post and pray, and hopefully my prayers will be answered. And what we find is that not only is viral a myth, and it just doesn't happen hardly ever, But YouTube is better as an owned medium. In other words, it is a place where you can create a deep relationship with consumers, the kind that you advertise 75 years for, to get people to say, I trust that brand. And yet by creating one of two kinds of content, either entertainment content or information content, you're able to create a relationship with a consumer that keeps them coming back and back and back again and inviting you, the brand, into their life instead of the other way around and you interrupting in their space. When it comes to social media, the funny thing about YouTube is only now are brands starting to realize that YouTube is social media. So if you're going to talk about Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, you need to be a Tumblr. You need to put YouTube into that mix. And then you start to say, well, what are the relative values of those things? So now let's just try to do a direct comparison between them. Let's pretend that you have 1,000 followers on Twitter and you have 1,000 likers on Facebook and you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. What happens with each of those things? The power of the Twitter medium is, you can have a lot of personality in 140 characters and you're not infringing on people's time. But were they there to be able to get the tweet? Did they ever see the tweet at all when a tree falls in the Twitter forest? On Facebook, what happens? You get the chance to be able to put out your box, which now, unless you pay, gets buried in the bottom of someone's newsfeed. They don't necessarily see it. YouTube offers a lot of value in this regard to a marketer. When you bring out a new video, your subscribers receive notification in their news feed on YouTube, but it's a much more powerful news feed. It's not filled with their friends talking about other things and then there's a brand. It's filled with the new videos that have come out since the last time that they signed in, and the stats are great. Their subscribers go and they watch the videos. And they share those videos, and a lot happens from that. And again, that's a 3 to 8 minute long interaction as opposed to the box and opposed to the tweet. People ask me all the time, so what's the secret for winning on YouTube? How do I do it? I have 12 videos and each has 200 views. Success seems miles away. And actually, YouTube is more formulaic than most people would think that it is. There are two key things that have to happen. Number one, you have to make the right content. And number two, you have to market that content right. Now, you might say, well, that's not much of a formula. I mean, if I could make the right content, I guess I'd be successful. But what's interesting now, especially with the Touchstorm Video Index and our Voot research, we have taken an approach that allows marketers to really see what's happening in their category. So let me give you an example. We pulled the top 500 videos in a certain category just the other day for a marketer in the beauty category. And 500 out of 500 videos were how-to videos. First of all, that's the only place you can pull that information. But second of all, to be able to look at it and say, wait a minute, that's more than a coincidence, right? Something made that happen. And what made that happen is the consumer deciding that that's what they want to use the YouTube medium for in that particular category. And in another category, it's a completely different answer. But the thing is, we all end up with a lot of agencies who like to say, you know what, let's break through that clutter. Let's try something new. And it's always a great idea to think about breaking through whatever clutter there is. But what we would advise is on YouTube, don't try to break through the clutter at first. First, you want to fit in, and then you want to stand out. Once you've built an audience and you have your own subscribers and people that you can test content on and you can ask questions to and respond to their needs, then we can try some new content formulas. But at first, it's really about figuring out what cracks the code in your category. And the research is now there to do it.